Here's one of the number one mistakes Americans make in Norway. And learning about this is actually probably the key to respectfully and ethically understanding the differences between Norwegian versions of politeness and American versions of politeness. Stop asking people how they're doing. This came up with a friend who felt like when she had asked somebody how they were doing and they asked where she was from, that her Norwegian had been bad. But I don't think that was the thing. And Norwegians just basically don't do that in everyday conversation. In Norway, if you were to ask somebody how they are, how are you doing? You would probably be doing it because you're actually concerned about how they're doing. If something's wrong, if you haven't seen them in 6 months. And it's not rude to ask people how they're doing, but it's odd. I mean, for 6 straight months, when I would run into people at work, I would be like, they would say, good morning. And I would say, good morning. How are you? And they would kind of go like that and then laugh a little bit and then tell me they were okay. And then stop and ask me how I was. Like now we had to talk and I didn't want to talk. I was just trying to say hello. And the insight about the culture here, like I said, for Norwegians, I think it can be sort of a judgment to say, oh, well, they're fake in America. This is not necessarily representation of insincerity. It just happens to be a way we've gotten into a greeting. For Americans, this can give you insight into the Norwegian cultural experience, which is that you say only what you mean. And we Americans don't always realize sometimes that we've been trained to say things that are questions, but we don't mean them as a question. Norwegians think that the best form of respect is to give space. And so you're not really going to intrude upon somebody's day by asking a question if there's not a good reason or if it's not a good place to ask it. So again, not that it would be considered rude to ask a store cashier, how are you doing? It's just so unusual that nobody would ever do that because it's kind of taking up their time if you don't really know them and you don't necessarily, if they're having a horrible day, what are you going to do about it when you're just trying to buy milk at the grocery store? You can't really be that invested. So for them, it's more respectful to just kind of move on and not ask those questions unless it's the time and place specifically for doing that.